When I say the most improbable game of all time, you'll probably think of a high-scoring game where one team makes a huge comeback and wins the game. You might think of the game where the Pittsburgh Pirates scored 10 runs in the first inning, only to blow it to the Philadelphia Phillies. But what if I ask you about the most improbable game for this previous year? The options become much more limited. You might think of the game where the Tigers scored 5 runs in the 9th to upset the Dodgers, or even when the Diamondbacks scored 5 in the 9th to upend the Nationals. And you might even be thinking of the time when the Dodgers scored 7 in the 9th to beat the Rockies. But none of these compared to the game that happened on May 26th between the Detroit Tigers and the Toronto Blue Jays this previous season. These two teams were coming into the season with vastly different expectations. The Blue Jays were coming off of a playoff appearance last year, but were swept by the Twins. Their window was closing fast and their offense was becoming lackluster, which used to be the staple of the team. The Tigers were coming off another below 500 season and were relying heavily on their young players to carry the organization. They did not get many free agents, and the ones they did were just average. Jack Flaherty was the only bright spot off the free agency signings, as was the rest of the pitching staff, which ranked 9th best in ERA coming into this game. Both teams resided near the bottom of their divisions, so for a game starting at 11:35 on a Sunday, this should be a low-scoring game, but that didn't happen. Starting for the Tigers is Casey Mize, former first overall pick from 2018 who has not lived up to his potential. Mize gets 2 quick outs, but gives up a single to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Mize gets Bo Bichette to ground out and has a pretty clean inning. Starting for the Blue Jays is Yusei Kikuchi, who has always just been an okay pitcher. He starts off his outing giving up a hard-hit single to third base. Despite the leadoff hit, he doesn't let anyone score and has a relatively normal first. 1 inning down, 8 to go. The top of the second is when things start to get weird. With the bases loaded and 2 outs, the Blue Jays were threatening to score and put up a crooked number. The leadoff hitter, Davis Schneider, is up to bat. All he has to do is find a gap. Instead, he hits it right at the second baseman. Don't worry, this won't be the last time the Blue Jays have the bases loaded. The Tigers immediately get a leadoff double and single to put the runners at the corners. And here's how you know this game is going to be weird. Javier Baez, one of the worst, if not the worst player on the Detroit Tigers, getting paid a massive contract, hits a 2-run double. Jake Rogers joins the fun and hits a double to deep right center field. Baez advances to third. The Jays finally make an out, and up comes Andy Ibanez. The thing about Ibanez is he specializes on destroying left-handed pitching. His numbers versus righties compared to lefties across 2024 are wildly different. And remind me again, is Kikuchi a lefty? Uh-oh. That's not good.
Inning. Andy Ibanez scorches this ball to left. It falls down in front of Schneider on one hop. He launches a throw to the plate on the second runner. Not in time. Baez was in easily.
The Tigers ended that inning with a 4-0 lead right after they stopped the Blue Jays' bases-loaded opportunity. Truly a momentum shift in the Tigers' favor. Things could get ugly if the Blue Jays don't do anything about it soon. So how do they counter? Single, single, single. Seems like a pretty good counter to me. The Blue Jays had the bases loaded with nobody out. Up to the plate comes Daniel Vogelbach. If you're Vogelbach, you're thinking one thing: make contact. And he makes contact right at the second baseman for a double play. Dalton Varsho ends the inning with a weak groundout, and after having a fantastic chance to score, Toronto exits the inning with a 0 in the run column. Detroit started their half of the inning with a pop-out from Carson Kelly, and up to the plate comes Spencer Torkelson. He was coming off a 31 home run campaign the previous year, but was severely underwhelming up to this point in the season. Coming into this game, he had only hit 3 home runs, but that did not stop him here as he hit a 405-foot bomb to left field to add on to the Tigers' lead. Now, on paper, this should be an easy Tigers win, but that doesn't take into account that the Blue Jays have actually gotten some pretty decent scoring chances. The Blue Jays are bad, but they're not worse than the league bad. Either way, if the Blue Jays just keep getting hits like they are right now, chances are they'll get some runs across the plate. Ernie Clement tries to get something going with a 1-out double, which brings up Cavan Biggio. The problem with that is Biggio isn't good. His stats for 2024 were abysmal, and his stats with runners in scoring position were somehow worse. And even with all of this going against him, he hits a 2-run shot. Toronto is on the board. Toronto changed their pitcher in the bottom of the 4th to Trevor Richards, who was marginally better than Kikuchi on the year. He gets through the Tigers lineup easily by getting 2 quick outs and catching Andy Ibanez trying to steal a base. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. gets the 5th started fast with a sharp double to the left field corner. Bo Bichette grounds out to advance Guerrero to third, and with that, the Tigers pull Casey Mize from the game. Both teams have gone into their bullpens, and it is only the 5th inning. things could get interesting real fast. Replacing Mize is Joey Wentz, someone who did well in his first year in the MLB, but has since struggled to get back to that point in his career. On his first pitch, Justin Turner grounds out to third base to advance Guerrero home. Dalton Varsho lays down a bunt on his first pitch, but is thrown out. 2 pitches, 2 outs. The bottom of the 5th starts with a Mark Canha double to left center. A Gio Urshela walk brings up Carson Kelly, and with nobody out, he is someone the Diamondbacks dropped in 2023 before the fairy tale run due to lack of production. The Tigers believed in him and picked him up, and they were rewarded. His numbers with the team weren't incredible, but they were good enough to do this.
This matchup. Swinging a high fly ball left field side. Schneider back at the track. He looks up at the wall. He jumps. He cannot make the catch.
Just when it seemed like Toronto was mounting a comeback, Detroit came right back and made it a 5-run lead once again. By the way, all 3 of those Tigers who just came in to score are no longer on the team. Heading into the 6th, and hey look, the Blue Jays have runners on base again. This prompts the Tigers to bring in Will Vest, who is going through one of his best stretches, only giving up 2 earned runs and 11.1 innings pitched in the month of May. With that being said, Davis Schneider hits a sac fly to score a run, Danny Jansen walks, which brings up Guerrero Jr. He, alongside Ernie Clement, were the only consistent hitters throughout this Blue Jays lineup that played a majority of the games. Guerrero is 3 for 3, and now with this hit into shallow center, he is 4 for 4, making this a 3-run game once again. In the bottom of the 6th, Trevor Richards is replaced by Zach Pop, who ever since his 2022 campaign has been pretty disappointing on the mound. He gets the first out from a very nice diving catch by Schneider. That would be crucial when the very next batter, Matt Vierling, steps up to the plate and just pulls one to left field. Look at how far inside this pitch is. How did he hit this fair? How does he hit this at all? Toronto gets through the inning, but there is a consistent theme going on throughout this game. No matter how many runs the Blue Jays score, the Tigers will just score more. And now the Jays are running out of time. They only have 9 more outs, and they will need at least 4 to tie. But that's assuming the Tigers don't score anymore. And that is a big if. Going into the 7th, and guess what? Another pitching change. This time it's Will Vest getting replaced by Tyler Holton, who also played for the Diamondbacks. With 2 outs, he has to face Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Kiner-Falefa was on the Yankees the year prior, but wasn't good enough for them. They let him go in free agency, but he remained in the division as the Blue Jays signed him. And his numbers were much improved with Toronto, as he was one of the only bright spots from the entire Jays lineup. Here, he hits a bomb to left field to pull the Jays within 3 once more. Detroit escapes only giving up 1 run, but something crazier happens in the bottom of the inning. The Blue Jays replaced their pitcher, and somehow the Tigers had a scoreless inning. Not only that, they didn't even get a base runner. This is the first time all game either team went 1-2-3 in their half of the inning. And to think that all it took was Eric Swanson and a 5.03 ERA. Toronto starts off the 8th inning well, runners on first and second, 1 out. This causes Detroit to bring in Jason Foley, who was mainly regarded as their closer. He finished the season tied for 10th most saves for all pitchers. He is facing a 4 for 4 Guerrero Jr. This matchup is basically the game. Even though there's only 1 out, if Guerrero, their most consistent hitter, gets out, that's it. And on a 1-0 count, he grounds out to shortstop, too shallow for the double play. The runners advance to second and third, but at what cost? The Tigers' closer is on the mound and has just gotten the Blue Jays' best hitter out. That is completely demoralizing, and this will probably just go down as another failed attempt at a comeback. But then, Bo Bichette hits a clutch 2-run single just over the glove of Colt Keith, bringing the Blue Jays to 1. And a Justin Turner walk brings up Dalton Varsho. He was a pure power hitter with 18 home runs on the year, which is good enough for 3rd best in the team. And that's not even taking into account that he just won the Gold Glove award. He was incredibly useful to the Jays and could be a building block for them in the future. He was acquired by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. 3 players? Come on. Just roll the clip.
Fly ball right field. Well hit. Gone.
11-9. The Blue Jays have their first lead of the day and just need 6 more outs, and they will win the game. What a game this has been. Who scripted this? The Tigers' half of the 8th inning starts with a pitching change for Toronto. They bring in veteran reliever Yimi Garcia. He has been a consistently good pitcher his entire career, and this year he went from good to back as if it were his prime again, as a veteran. He gets himself into a jam, runners on second and third, 2 outs. At the plate is Mark Canha, a veteran who has severely dropped in production since last year. Canha just seems so outmatched in this battle, and with this looking like the Tigers' last chance to score, a Blue Jays win seems like it is in the books. But If this game has taught us anything, it's that anything can happen, no matter the circumstances.
Hit the ball hard 3 times. Base hit into right. Tigers have tied it up in the 8th. Here we go, here we go.
Unbelievable. We go to the 9th inning, tied at 11s. But first, we need to have a pitching change. Detroit replaces Foley with Mason Englert, who has consistently put up an ERA in the 540s across his 2 years in the league. With an insane comeback from the Jays after trailing by 5 twice to take the lead in the 8th, it would only be complete perfection if Toronto goes on to win. And they would have a pretty good chance in the 9th to take a huge lead. With 2 outs and a man on, Englert has to face Danny Jansen, who had specialized in being a power hitter in years past, but has regressed greatly in 2024. As he steps to the plate, Jays fans who are all watching this game begin to realize what will happen. His days of being a huge power hitter seem to be behind him, but he could still have another magical moment in him. What is more likely to happen is he will just pop out and end the Jays' 9th inning in disappointing fashion. Instead, he makes it a little more interesting.
This one's deep. And playable for Canna in left. Oh, man.
That close to giving the Blue Jays a crucial 2-run cushion going into the bottom of the 9th. Instead, it's a deep flyout, and we head to the bottom of the 9th, 11-11. This game has had everything, an unbelievable high-scoring game between 2 teams near the bottom of their divisions, featuring 22 runs, 6 home runs, and a major comeback by the Toronto Blue Jays. Of course, we couldn't conclude this game without a pitching change. Garcia is replaced by Jordan Romano, who was dominant in his previous 3 years as a reliever, but this year he could not find the same magic and he was not the same. He finds himself in a pickle, 2 runners on, 2 outs. He faces Matt Vierling, who hit a home run in the 6th, off a pitch that might have hit him. He also has had 2 other hits throughout the game. Romano is facing a 3-for-5 hitter on the day, and all he has to do is hit a single to win. You know, it's a shame that Jansen's flyout didn't clear the wall, because if it did, it would take a little more than a single to win the game. Luckily for us, we don't have to worry about what-ifs, because Vierling can just do this.
Looking to top it off with the hit here.
Vierling swings, skies it, deep left field. This is not coming back. Matt Vierling a bomb, and the Tigers walk it off.
Wow. Just wow. What a game. You never really knew who was going to win. However, this game is only part of the story. What truly makes this game stand out among the rest is the situation the teams were in. Now, it's time to talk about the aftermath. Toronto and Detroit finished their seasons on completely different trajectories. Detroit was one of the youngest teams in baseball and finished the season 31-13 to somehow make the playoffs. They are heading into one of their most interesting off seasons in a long time, to see what kind of talent they can build around their young and exciting core when the free agency opens up. Toronto is an aging team, with most of their hitters at the tail end of their prime. They also are entering one of their most interesting off seasons they have had in a long time. What they do with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette could defy the way baseball in Toronto has played for years. The bottom line is the current roster can't get it done. And it's not like one of these teams was much better than the other at the time of the game or come trade deadline. I'll show you what I mean. On screen now is every player that played in this game. Now highlighted is every player that was traded or released by their team. And that doesn't even include the big names like Jack Flaherty or Nate Pearson. Yet, somehow by the end of the year, the Tigers seem to be coming into the end of their rebuild and the Blue Jays seem to be going into one. And this is what I'm getting at. These teams that were heading in different trajectories played each other right when their paths crossed. And the result? Well, I think it can speak for itself.